Developing this point that Victor Mikasa made about the fact that actually go through history and you see that homosexuality has existed. Raymond Perrier, you are at a Jesuit institute here in Johannesburg, and you've done some actual research into the existence of homosexuality in Africa.
Yes, I had the great privilege of living and working in the beautiful country of Uganda a few years ago. And as you know, David, one of the foundational stories of the Christian church in Uganda is the story of the Ugandan martyrs, a group of young men who were martyred because of their Christianity. But the reason, what triggered their martyrdom was that King Mwanga, the king of the Buganda, tried to have gay sex with them. So clearly it was the king, who was presumably African, indeed a representative of everything that was most important about the Buganda. It was he who was homosexual. It was the Christians who refused his advances.
That's just one king, though.
But is one king
King Mwanga II you're talking about.
Is one king not enough?
Well, I mean, it's not enough perhaps to base the whole, you know, history, others, perhaps other examples from Africa?
But it certainly challenges the idea that it was Europeans who brought in homosexuality. What it seems to suggest is that it was Europeans who brought in homophobia. So
you're saying that this is something that is very
Zainab, I just wanted to inform him that actually we have history before that happened, the king, and we know that this was brought by the Arab traders.
Okay,
it goes beyond that, yeah. It goes beyond what you know.
The Arabs would not say that they condone homosexuality either.
When I said Arab traders, I meant Western traders.
So yeah, so as I said, the way the guy is saying that there was a king in Africa, and I like what the hostess said. You can't use one king in the entire African continent and say, yes, gays originated in Africa. No. Gay, and this, I'm going to stand by this, gay was originated with Greeks, the Europeans. Those are the ones that took out all of history. When Africa is more about polygamy, more about a man having multiple wives, or if a woman got pregnant out of wedlock, she's shunned. Like, those are our history. That's our background. We never have there's no evidence up to today can prove that that gays was in ancient time in Africa, but it's present and there in the Roman Empire, the Greeks, the Colosseum, the time of the gladiators. As far back as I can think, on the white people, they have statues, they have photos, they have these orgies with men. Africa was never like that. So it's when they start to remember they used to have way before you have colonizers and before you have slavery. Well, not before slavery, because every country enslaved their own people. But before slaves was traveling from as transatlantic slavery, they used to have traders. We used to have people from the European countries travel to the African continent and go to trade, open up trade routes. And those are the ones who brought this kind of lifestyle to the continent, and I'm convinced of this. So anyway, let's finish the debate and then let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about what you heard and what was said in the comment section, and then we can discuss it. Boom.
I'm Prince Cyprian Mngangeni from Congress of Traditional Leaders in Southern Hemisphere. We as the traditional, we do not support it. It's not African, homosexual, because God made men and women, never made men and women. So we do not support it. South Africa is the last country to be liberated, but it's the first country to promulgate this act.
And it doesn't represent your view, then, the fact that it's enshrined in the Constitution?
We, as the traditional leaders, we didn't support this thing. Even the survey was being conducted in this country. 98% never supported the same-sex marriages. But our government made a big mistake. Yeah, our government made a big mistake to promulgate to ban act. So we, as the traditional leaders, were still saying government must call a referendum to nullify this thing, because it's inhumane. It's against the law, it's against the code, where the Christians are not we do not support same-sex marriage.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, let's now just look at why, not whether it's African or un-African, but why do you think homosexual rights should be supported? Paula?
I don't see it as homosexual rights, gay rights. I see it as equal rights. At the end of the day, people have the people have different inclinations, and people should be allowed to express themselves in whatever way comes naturally to them. I think homophobia is a choice. I don't think it's a natural phenomenon. If children in Uganda are traumatized because they've been adopted by gay parents, it's because an environment has been created based on various systems, Christianity, African culture, whatever you want to call it, that makes them feel traumatized. We could also choose to create a culture that makes them feel accepted, that makes, that is based on tolerance. And I think that's really the sort of African culture we aspire to.
Let's see what Festus Mogai says here, because as a former president, you know that your fellow presidents now and prime ministers are perhaps, some would argue, creating that environment that Paula says, whereby people who are inclined to homophobia feel that they are able to make their homophobic comments, because no president in power, including you yourself, Mr. Mogai, when you are actually in power, you do not come out blatantly in support of gay rights. Fair
yes,
point?
I did not come out in support of gay rights, but I did come up in support of human rights. Therefore, I did not specifically, I'm not a gay activist. I'm not a pro-gay activist. No. I say, well, I don't understand the preference, the sexual preference, but they are entitled to it. And that therefore they should not be discriminated against, it should not be criminalized.
But why, when you were president, did you not repeal? Why did you not make it legal when you were president?
I ruled in a democracy. I could only do what was feasible.
Did you try?
The majority of our people are still opposed. So I must convince them first before changing the law unilaterally. And when I was president, even without changing the law,
all right, let's see.
I gave instructions to our police. They stopped arresting or harassing lesbians.
Monica is a gay rights activist from Botswana, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. Mogai, with due respect, I believe that you had the power when, for 10 years, you could have changed the law. You could have at least brought up the matter within Parliament or within the policymakers to at least try and change. That would never happen. So I think that's the fundamental problem that we have is the effort that you're putting in now, we never actually felt it in the country, at home, when you had the power to change things.
When we see, I mean, Mr. Mogai, I want to ask you, when you see the Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga saying homosexuals should be arrested and put in prison, Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe has compared them to dogs and pigs. Then he said, oh, I'm sorry I said that. It's an insult to dogs and pigs. That's the kind of rhetoric you can get from African leaders. So why this reticence? Why do they create this climate?
I did not, and she, my compatriot, she was not persecuted or arrested during my term of office. So that's what I did. But I could not change the law because that had been necessarily stirring up a hornet's nest.
But why are African leaders, Mr. Mogai?
I was not willing to lose an election on behalf of the gays. But
yes, leave it. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Because
he's being honest. He's being honest.
Listen.
And do you think, Mr. Mogai, that...
And I discussed with my cabinet.
Okay, can I ask you, Mr.
what
Mogai,
I think.
Are other African presidents, you've spoken to many over 10 years, did they have, even those who wanted to support gay rights, felt, I don't want to lose an election, it's not worth it? Did a lot of them make that point to you?
I don't know, no, they haven't. We haven't talked about it.
Did you not discuss...
Except only now, those who make proposals similar to my brothers here, those are the ones that I engage, or are my brother. Now you are going too far.
Okay, Yubi, are you disappointed that political leaders...
Okay, all right.
Are you disappointed that political leaders are not more forthcoming, or do you accept that they don't want to lose elections?
No, I don't accept it. I'm deeply disappointed, and I was hoping, as cute as the admission is, and good for TV, I'm hoping that Mr. Mogai will at least accept that his attitude retrospectively is deeply immoral, because by saying that you're not willing to lose an election for the gay minority, you make it sound like it's a political strategy, but it's much more simple. You weren't willing to lose an election, even if it meant affirming the dignity and equality of all people in your country.
You are wrong. Now you are talking nonsense.
Just a minute.
Now you are talking nonsense, because my people, during my rule, their dignity was not affronted. They were never arrested. They were never insulted. They were never harassed.
Mr. Mogai, with
Therefore,
all due
they were
respect,
not.
no, that's not good enough.
Your judgment.
When the law says to me, Eusebius McKaiser, as a gay man, what you do is illegal and it's immoral, that is undermining my dignity. The fact that behind the scenes you call up a policeman and say, dude, don't arrest Eusebius on the street, it's not good enough, because the message that the law signals in itself affirms homophobia, and for that you should take moral accountability.
I agree that the law that says that is wrong, but I've told you that I wasn't willing to, yes, oh yes, no apologies, no apologies.
Tell us why you feel that your anti-homosexuality bill, strengthening the current laws in Uganda whereby homosexuality is already punishable by up to 14 years in prison, why you feel that needs strengthening?
Our constitution prohibits same-sex marriage. And this law is coming in to have a corresponding law that will punish same-sex marriage. That's number one. The second one, we have a problem of recruitment.
So you're saying that your bill is opposed to the recruitment of minors by adult homosexuals?
Yes, and it has four core elements.
So it's about paedophilia, it's not about homosexuality then?
It has four elements.
I'll just ask you, is it about paedophilia?
It's both.
You have spoken before about the existence of videos that show the recruitment, in your view, your claims, that there are these adult homosexuals who are targeting minors. Just put the flesh on the bones. What exactly do you mean?
We have evidence, and we are, listen, we are not obliged to present this evidence to this audience. Listen, I am a member, listen, I am a member.
David, perhaps to take the stage like this.
No. I'm going to give you a chance. Okay, wait, let's see. I'm going to come to somebody from Uganda. Okay, wait. Okay, wait.
Whether you make whatever amount of noise, I cannot allow our children, Ugandan children, to be recruited into homosexuality. I will never allow it.
Wait.
Whether you allow it or not.
Wait. Paula, is there anything in your work in health and sexual reproductive rights? You've lived in several countries in Africa. Are you aware of this kind of active recruitment campaign which David Bahati claims is in existence?
I'm not personally aware of it, no. I think sexual coercion of any kind is a problem, but there's no reason why we need to frame it within the homosexuality, mindset. It's got nothing to do with being gay.
Fikile is from the Association of African Lesbians.
It is a coalition of African lesbians, which is an organization that works on the whole continent. We are working to defend and promote the rights of lesbian women, bisexual women, transgender people on the whole continent. And we are Africans. I stand here as an African person. I cannot allow a conversation to go on insulting me and telling me that I'm not an African. You're actually not even insulting me. You're insulting my ancestors.
That's not what I say.
You understand me?
No one has suggested that you are an African. But if you believe in homosexuality, then you are believing in something that is an African. So that's what we are saying.
Let me start by indicating how disappointed I am for David Bahati to be treated in the manner in which he was treated. He is a member of parliament in his country. The respect that he receives in his country must be meted out to him in this country.
Okay, all right. Caleb, you are a member of a Christian political party of young people here in South Africa. You've got 3 members of parliament.
Number one, everybody seated here is confusing the fact here. The issue is not about the hatred or the acceptance thereof. The matter is it African or not? Now, the truth, listen. The truth of the matter is, let us conduct this debate in an orderly manner, in a family setup. And as much as you want to unravel the true fabric of being African by saying that being gay is acceptable or being lesbian is, it is totally against the morals of an African family.
My name is Amina Frenzy. I'm African and Muslim and a woman and probably straight. But I'm appalled at some of the views that we have heard here. Are we not signatories to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? And if that is the case, you know, why are we not brought to book for not adhering to some of the very universal principles that we're adhering to? That's very basic.
I'm Nemo Malachi from the ACDP Youth Foundation. I'm the National Secgen. There are obviously biblical reasons against homosexuality, but there are also non-biblical reasons, such as thousands of years of traditional male-female marriages across the cultures and religions, the fact of public health catastrophe among homosexual men, the fact of numerous studies showing the importance of to children of a father and mother. In as much as polygamy is not allowed in America and stuff, and we do not impose it upon them because of human rights, they cannot impose their culture upon us due to human rights.
I am Mazibuko Jaka, a straight African male with deep rural roots. It's clear to me that the answer to the Bahatis of this world is Africans like me rising up against them to say to them, what they stand for is not for us. We must make it clear as Africans across the world, across the continent, that we want equality, we want freedom, we want no discrimination, we want no ignorance of the type we have seen.
To make your final points on this question of, is homosexuality un-African, and if so, what do you think should be done about it? David Bahati, start with you. One member from the audience said that we are all subscribing to a universal declaration of human rights. Not at the UN, not at the African Union, have all countries said that they are subscribing to a sexual orientation, a right of sexual orientation of any kind. That's the reason why in some countries homosexuality is a human right, in other countries not a human right. And we respect each other. It's a mutual respect. You can do it the way you do it in South Africa, we respect that. But leave us in Uganda, we cannot allow homosexuality to be practiced. The final point, if I may, I leave South Africa with my heart bleeding. Festus Mogai.
I can't understand why we say homosexuality is un-African when there is evidence that it has always existed in Africa and it exists today as it does elsewhere in the world. And therefore it appears to me that homosexuality, whether we understand it or not, or like it or not, is as African as it is European, as it is Asian. That's one. So our way of doing things in Botswana is to try to persuade. And my participation in this forum today, I was hoping that we would discuss without too much excitement, because we would try to persuade the rest of Africa and show them that their homophobia is unjustified. But unfortunately, we became too excited, emotionally affected. They stood up, they shouted down those who disagreed with them. Then it appears that we are using intolerance to fight intolerance. So I thought maybe that a little presentationally.
Paula, your view on what you've heard and how things can move forward?
Well, I think when you said that you're going to leave with a bleeding heart, that really captured my sentiments. And I think for everyone in this room, regardless of which side of the camp you stand on, people are going to leave here today with bleeding hearts, or at least with a balance of negative emotions, because that's what hatred does to us. Rwanda was one of only 2 countries that spoke out at the United Nations in December last year. I'm from Rwanda, which is a conservative country, yes, but spoke out to say that we shouldn't discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation. Because in Rwanda, we have too recently felt just how bitter the sting of that intolerance can be, because hatred is a double-edged sword. So I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I can't help but wonder if this obsession that's arisen lately with whipping people up into frenzies over ideological lines of sexual orientation in this continent is really a way of distracting us from the bigger issues that we're fighting, like, you know, food insecurity, the state of our health systems, the plundering of our natural resources. Diversity will always be with us, but intolerance and hatred, that is a choice. So if we can agree that love is the fundamental basis of Christianity, if we can agree that Ubuntu is the fundamental basis of being an African, it's togetherness, it's solidarity, if we can agree that God, however you define him or her, respects free will of all human beings, then why can't we just choose love and tolerance so we can move forward and talk about the things that really matter?
Gay people should, I think, in the African continent, don't rub it in our faces. We are still finding it difficult to accept that a man or a woman and a woman should kiss in public or do the other things a man and a woman should do. So please, I think you should just leave it. Well, I don't know if I work elsewhere in Europe or whatever, but in Africa, I think.
Okay. Yubi.
But in Africa.
Yubi.
I want to make 2 points in closing, Zainab. The first is that I must say I'm deeply disappointed with the South Africans in the audience who are supportive of the sentiments, if not the bill, that David is proposing. And the reason for that is that, and it links up with Paula's example of the Rwandese experience, we haven't yet forgotten the scars of apartheid and what it meant as black people in this country to have your humanity reduced to something else. And yet, what short memories we have, because our own experiences of being discriminated against on the grounds of race, which is analogous to sexual discrimination, doesn't somehow make people reflect on why all forms of prejudice are bad. The second point I want to put on the table in closing is to say really to David this, that I think we're in danger of being over-intellectual. We talk about, is it African, is it not African? Is the anthropological experience predating Christians' arrival or not? I don't care about those things. We're forgetting the humanity of this, David. For me, if you look at Frank and his partner, if you want to talk about my own experiences with my partners, it's the same love that you are experiencing. It's the same trials and tribulations in my personal life. I'm not harming you. All I'm asking for is to give me the private space to live a loving relationship with another person of my own choosing.
All right, well, clearly the gulf still exists between the 2 camps in this debate. Is homosexuality un-African? I hope we've shed both heat and light on this topic of being gay in Africa, thanks to our panel, our studio audience, and to you, wherever you are, for watching. From me, Zainab Badawi in Johannesburg. Goodbye.
So there, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that debate. It was a very interesting debate. And you see where South Africa is the only country in African continent with all 54 countries. South Africa is the only one that kind of gives them some form of freedom to roam around. But no other African countries accepted this kind of lifestyle. So, as I said this, they always try to dominate a debate or shout the people down at clear a line and what. Notice it. And we on this side who don't accept that lifestyle are the ones that have to sit there and speak quietly. You can't. They are so disrespectful towards everyone else, and no one can ever say something about it. Everybody get defensive and offended. Oh, you can't say that. But they can say and do what they want to the other crowd, like the Muslims and the straight people. That's the only thing I don't like. And the disrespect of the politician. We should show him more respect. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Anyway. Your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I don't know. Boom.